how can I teach my toddler not to hit? This is the question from a lovely mama's saying that a 1.5-year-old is playing with her and suddenly he's hitting her, right? Well, just like everything else, we need to remember that behavior is communication, and there is a reason why the child is doing that, right? Children are not born bad. They are not willingly hurting us. They are not enjoying hurting us, right? If they are doing this, it's always for a reason. And if we find out why he's doing this, then we can handle the situation better and help our child, right? So let's see what could be happening for a child when he's hitting like this out of nowhere. Well, with Aware Parenting and Alyssa Salter, who's the founder of Aware Parenting, we know that children can be behaving unpleasantly for three main reasons. Whether they have a lack of information, or they have unmet needs, or they have pent-up feelings or unresolved trauma, right? So let's go through all three of them quickly and see what could be happening for a toddler who's hitting. Is he lacking information? Right? Babies, when they're very little, they don't know that hitting hurts. Right? Now, a child who's 1.5, he already understands that this is something that you don't want him to do, especially if you've already told him 200 times, do not hurt me, or gentle hands, right? So if you've already explained that to him and it's clear that you don't want him to do that, then lacking information is probably not what's happening for the child, right? So let's go to the second reason, which could be that he has unmet needs, right? Sometimes children behave unpleasantly because they are needing our attention, which is a legitimate need, and he might hit or do something unpleasant just to attract our attention, or also because they have unmet needs such as the need for sleep or food, etc., need for power, the need for protection, etc. But here, I wouldn't say that if the child is hitting when he's playing with you, it's because he's got unmet needs, because you are there with him, right? So he does have your attention, right? So let's see what is the third possibility. The third reason why children could be behaving unpleasantly and hitting is because they have pent-up feelings or unresolved trauma, right? And this is more likely to be what is happening for a child or toddler when he's hitting. You know, when you're feeling angry, you as an adult, you're more likely to do or say things that are unpleasant, right? And it's the same for children. If they're feeling a bit frustrated or angry and they haven't expressed it yet, it will show through their behavior, right? Now, in this situation, you're playing with your child, right? So you're emotionally available. And when our children feel that we're emotionally available, they are much more likely to start sharing their feelings with us, their anger, their frustration, their sadness, etc. I'm sure you can relate to that, right? If you've got your very good friend listening to you and you can tell that she's really listening, she's not on her phone or she's not distracted, she's not doing something else, she's not rushing around, she's really just listening and being with you, you're much more likely to share all the stuff that has happened to you, to share your feelings, to tell her about your sadness or your frustrations, etc. Right? And it's the same for our children. When we are sitting down with them and playing with them, they can feel, oh, Mama is playing with me, she's available, I can let her know how I'm feeling. Right? So it's actually a very good sign. Right? Now, a 1-year-old can't talk. Your 1-year-old cannot tell you, Mama, I've got some unexpressed frustration in my body, and I've noticed now, because you're playing with me, that you're emotionally available for me. Would you mind if I share with you my uncomfortable feelings? No. A 1-year-old or 1.5, 2 years old, 3 years old, they can't do that. They can't talk. They can't tell us how they feel. So what will they do? They will act out how they feel. right? And usually a child who's hitting, it's because he's feeling like this inside. It's just like, he's feeling angry, he's feeling frustrated, right? And it's normal for a little child, right? They have heaps of reasons to feel frustrated. It's frustrating to be a little child, right? There's so many things they can't do. Life is a bit stressful. They can't make many decisions, right? So they can be feeling quite stressed or angry or upset, right? So by that I mean your child is not naughty, is not trying to hurt you, is simply telling you how he's feeling with his actions because he can't talk. Him hitting means I feel upset, I'm stressed, and I need help. Him hitting is him calling for help. He's telling you, Mommy, I'm feeling overwhelmed or angry and I don't know what to do with all those feelings. Please help me. Right? This is what him hitting means. Right? And so what we want to do for a child in this situation is to help him. To help him with those big feelings. Right? And well, the first thing we want to do is stop the hurting behavior, right? We don't want to let a child hit us ever, right? So with the minimum amount of force, you want to stop his little hand from hitting you, right? And then we want to be there for him. Sit down, ground yourself, because when you stop him from hitting, he might start crying. And what is the crying about? Well, it's all the sadness or the frustration that he was holding on to, all those feelings that were bubbling up and making him hit you, they're just coming out now through crying or raging, and this is good, right? This is just like you sharing your feelings with your friends when you have a cuppa, right? It looks a bit more messy with our children because they can't talk them out, they cry them out or rage, right? And even when they're old enough to talk them out, it's not as efficient as having a cry, right? So make sure to set that limit. I'm not going to let you hit me, but to remember that that's him telling you, I'm feeling upset, I'm overwhelmed, and I need help. Can you help me with those big feelings? Right? So we want to hold that space for our children and stay with them while they're crying or raging, letting all those feelings out, right? This is very healing for them. Right? Now, there's 3 things you can do to avoid that from happening. The first thing would be to slow down the pace of your life if you can, right? Babies and children thrive when everything goes slow. As soon as it's too fast or they're too stressed or we're rushing around all day, they become stressed and overwhelmed and they're more likely to hit and do unpleasant things. Right? Then I want to invite you to have a few times a day or at least once a day a moment when you can give your child your undivided attention, your full attention just for him. Put your phone aside for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, and just be with your child so that it fills up his cup and fills up his need for attention and for love, right? And the third thing we might want to look at is looking at times when you might be interrupting him from expressing his emotions, right? There are times when our child just starts crying, so he's trying to express the overwhelm and the sadness, and we would go like, oh no, shh, don't cry, here is some food, or here is a book, so we're interrupting him from expressing those emotions that were making him mad. And if those emotions are not expressed, they get repressed, they stay in the body, they accumulate, and when he's full of anger and sadness, then he will be more likely to hit. Right? So we want to notice those little moments when the child is naturally having a cry and to not necessarily interrupt that. If we can in that moment, to just sit down and stay with him and let him express those feelings. Right? He will feel much more relaxed after that. Right? So my answer is we don't need to teach our children not to hit. They know hitting hurts. They know we don't want them to do that, right? More so, we want to realize that maybe if he's hitting, it's because he's holding onto some uncomfortable feelings or some stress, and he might need to express them by having a cry with us sometime. Right? It is healthy for all human beings to have a cry now and then, and it can be very healing with the right support. Right? So I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions. And remember, you've got this, you know your child, and I'm sending you lots of love. Bye.